Appreciate you streaming in. They are on Birds 365. Now, here's a request from your pal, Jody Mack. Hit that like button just because Ed Kracz is on the show. Come on. How can you not love a guy like Ed Kracz? Look at that face. How do you not love Ed Kracz? Hit the like button, all right? Please. Hello.
Well, we got a little Halloween decoration up in the back.
Yeah.
I love it.
Season, yeah. Yeah, we have a very sincere pumpkin patch too, John. If you want to come over and check it out sometime.
I got to stop by.
Just tell me that. Just please tell me that
Ed lives like 6 hours away from me. It's unbelievable.
About all the candy corn you can eat. Come on down. All the candy corn. If you like candy corn, I got a couple bowls full for you.
Could have taken you 6 hours to go 10 blocks in South Philly last night.
Yeah,
get some riding in to go to Ed's house.
Yeah.
I like the plaid there, Ed. You're looking ready for the holiday season too. Appreciate the fact that you dressed up for us. All right, John and I were just debating this before you came on. I don't want to put words in John's mouth, but John said he fears this is a name signing, more of a
big name trap.
Big name trap. Overreaction to the loss against the Jets. I think the signing of Julio Jones was merited, needed, and can be helpful. Give us your evaluation of the announcement that Julio Jones would be becoming an Eagle yesterday.
Yeah, I heard you guys discussing it for the 10 minutes or so. I was in the green room.
Yeah, well, sorry about that.
That's fine. Listen, I don't see any downside here with this signing to Julio Jones, to be honest. It could be a big name trap. I mean, Howie certainly did a good job bringing in Linval Joseph and then Ndamukong Suh last year. You know, you could have said big name trap last year, but those two guys came in and still had plenty left and helped the Eagles get to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Julio's going to do the same thing. He's 34 years old. It's on the old side for a receiver. He's really battled hamstring injuries these last couple of seasons, but I don't see a downside. I mean, I think he can help this team if he can, show that he's healthy and has something left in the tank. And I think he wants to win a ring, and I think he'll do whatever he can or whatever the Eagles ask him to do to try to make that happen. And I think the Eagles are smart bringing him in now. I mean, we still have, 2 weeks left until the trade deadline. So you're going to get a look at Julio Jones and what he can offer you. And he's only on the practice squad. Now, I know the expectation is he'll be elevated this weekend, but you're not chewing up a roster spot with him. And you're getting a good look at him for 2 weeks before the deadline. If he's the answer, great. If he's not, then maybe at the trade deadline or closer to the deadline, you say we need another wide receiver, because I agree with Jody. They're just not getting anything out of that third receiver spot. And I know the traffic goes through Brown, Smith, and Goddard, and now DeAndre Swift, but you still need production from a third wide receiver to kind of take some of the pressure off these other guys. And Zach Pascal did a good job for them in that role last year. Quez Watkins did a good job a couple years ago, but he showed that he's not the answer. He may have played his last snap with this team. I know he's on IR, but if Julio Jones kind of comes in and wins that job, I don't know if Quez will be brought back.
He can't play special teams, so
no. So he may have played his last snap if this Julio Jones thing works out. And even if it doesn't, at least they'll have 2 weeks to figure out if it could. And if it doesn't, then they probably will need to go out and get somebody. But right now, I see no downside to it.
Yeah, I will freely admit that there's no risk. I mean, you just move on. You turn the page. I assume he's getting decent money because of his reputation. But in the long term, who cares? I'm not paying it. You're not paying it. Jody's not paying it. And they can afford it. So the money isn't going to matter. Obviously, it's not going to muck up the salary cap. I acknowledge it's low risk. I just, we lived through the dream team with this team. Now, this is a very good team. I just don't like – you're coming off a bad loss. You're top 10 in everything on offense. You have the number 2. I still think I always tell Jody, and Jody probably gets sick of it, Nick Sirianni, like pounding. You got to be honest with yourself. And to me, all the issues are on the other side of the football, but they were good technically, defensively, against the Jets, because the Jets are limited at quarterback. And they're worried about the offense, which you can nitpick and say, Well, the red zone isn't working, and he's got a big body. Even though the one knockout with him when he was great in Atlanta was they never used him in the red zone, which is ironic. The assumption he's going to be a Zach Pascal-like blocker. He's always been the guy people are blocking for. Who knows if he can do that? My only point is you got to be honest with yourself. They don't have a lot of problems on offense. Do they have to fix some things? Yes. But they don't have a lot of problems. They have a lot of problems up the middle of that defense. And maybe they couldn't acquire somebody. Maybe they're trying to get Buda Baker. Maybe they're trying to get Jeremy Chin. Maybe they're trying to do this and do that. My only point is, it's rare when I think Howie's not being honest with himself. And to me, you already got a howitzer and you're putting, all right, add Julio Jones. Is he better than Quez Watkins? Yes. Is he going to catch the football if you throw it to him twice a game? Probably. But who cares? Go get something that improves the team, not improves we got Julio Jones. We got a big name. Let's throw an extra football out there. That's my only point. Who cares?
To quasi-argue John's point, Ed, can we not all agree that Jalen Hurts is not as good this year as he was last year? If you're committed to this guy for $250 million, don't you want to have another reason to explain the drop-off for Jalen Hurts other than, Jalen Hurts might not be as good as we paid him to be? That's why I think they got a half an eye on the offense. And you're right, it's not major and the signing's not major. But if you can make an upgrade, if you can tweak something, why wouldn't you? Jalen Hurts is going to dictate how good this team is going to be for years to come.
I'll throw a devil's advocate to Jody's point off my point and throw it to you, Ed. Doesn't this put more pressure on Jalen Hurts? Because now he's got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and Julio Jones, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, even though he's 34 and he's not playing like a first ballot Hall of Famer for the past 4 years. That kind of gets lost in the sauce. Doesn't that put more pressure?
I'm talking over Ed again. Do you really believe that Jalen Hurts' problem is pressure?
No, well,
there is if you go to Jalen Hurts, go, listen, Jalen, we can get you an upgrade. Now it's going to upgrade the pressure on you, but we'll get you a more talented player to play with. Do you really think he'd go, yeah, no, don't give me anybody more because I don't want to.
I misspoke, so I'm glad you interrupted, Ed. I'll interrupt Ed. You're getting the day off, Ed. The expectations are increased on Jalen Hurts. How's that? So now it's even more. You get all these knuckleheads, whether it's Chris Sims or whomever. Oh, Jalen Hurts doesn't do this. Jalen Hurts doesn't do that. Now you got it even upgraded because now he's got Julio Jones. And forever, as you know, Jody, way too many people, forget about fans, Julio Jones is Julio Jones for the rest of existence. He's in a stasis. He's Julio Jones. Expectations grow is the proper word.
And I would again suggest that Jalen Hurts would take on expectations and say, please challenge me. I want the expectations. That's just my read on the kid. But hey, here's the one thing, Ed, we keep forgetting. Welcome home, Josiah Scott. It isn't like how he didn't address the defense at all yesterday. He brought back Josiah Scott. That's huge, is it not?
Well, I mean, they cut him at the end of August. I mean, is it huge? I mean, it's a desperation move.
It's better.
Yeah, I mean, how much is he going to help? I mean, he's just another guy they're going to throw back there. I mean, they've already recycled like 15 guys in that secondary because of injury. So he's just another guy. I mean, he's not the ultimate answer. Yeah, he's competent. Yeah, he knows the system. Yeah, he can come in and play right away. But at what level is he going to play at? I mean, I don't know. They didn't think enough of him to keep him. They kept Mario Goodrich over Josiah Scott, and now I guess Goodrich was cut to make room for Josiah Scott. So look, I don't know. I'm not putting as much weight on that one as I would Julio Jones. Obviously, I mean, Josiah Scott's not a first ballot Hall of Famer like Julio is, but again, there's a lot of unknowns with Julio, and whether it puts more pressure on Jalen, I doubt it. I think Jalen's fine with pressure. I mean, I don't think anything like that's going to bother him. I don't think he's played the way as well as he did last year, to answer the earlier question. I mean, he's already got more interceptions than he had all of last season. You know, maybe defenses are giving him a little different thing to look at. Maybe the Brian Johnson new offensive coordinator is impacting him in some way. But he's clearly not the same player. And, you know, Jeffrey Lurie loves offense, right? So a guy like Julio's out there, you know, you can never have too many guys, too many weapons. And that's kind of what they're hoping with.
They should have drafted Bijan too, Ed. They should have drafted
Bijan's awesome, man. I mean, you see what he's doing.
He is awesome.
Yeah, he's a great player.
But they need more playmakers.
Well, I mean, you can never have too many playmakers, and probably Jeffrey Lurie's opinion. And a guy like Julio, there's so many unknowns. And again, like I said, it's good they brought him in now. You may as well figure it out now before the trade deadline. You already know you need a safety, and Josiah Scott is not going to be the answer at safety.
Well, let me
in 48-hour period.
I think I misspoke. By no means do I think Jalen Hurts cares about pressure or expectations. He's proven he's beyond that. What I was trying to say is expectations outside the building, expectations on the Eagles offense. I'll put it this way. I already get 10 times a week, at least, and I'm sure you guys get it, Jody on the radio, Ed, and your comments and things like that. Brian Johnson stinks. Brian Johnson can't do this. Brian Johnson can't do this. I already get that 10 times a week conservatively. He's, again, got the second-ranked offense in the NFL through his first 6 games. The expectations increase on Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni, Kevin Petula, whoever you want to throw in the mix. If this team continues to struggle as the second-ranked offense in the NFL with Julio Jones added to the mix, I don't know. I could see some issues with that when it comes to people not named Jalen Hurts, not living up to expectations. And I don't know. To me, the juice may not be worthy of the squeeze. Now, Marquez Callaway's 25 years old. Maybe he can't play. Maybe he came in to work out. Maybe he's a bad guy. I know nothing about him. So there could be 100 reasons why they went with the 34-year-old mercenary ring chaser versus the 25-year-old guy who's caught, you know, almost had 50 receptions with the Saints a couple of years ago, started a bunch of games. There could be a whole host of reasons, but I know Marquez Callaway isn't raising any eyebrows. Julio Jones is raising eyebrows because he's Julio Jones.
Yeah. I don't know
but
if
he's
Callaway's
not Julio Jones, if that makes sense.
I don't think Callaway, is he any better than Quez Watkins? I mean, I don't know.
Maybe not.
Right.
Maybe not.
I mean, listen, Howie had success. Again, it comes down to last year when they brought in Joseph and Sue. I mean, and it came in a desperation move. The Eagles had just gotten beat by the Commanders, and, you know, they brought in 2 guys that he thought could stop the run, and it turned out well. You know, they still had something left. So, you know, he's going on that track record to say, I had success doing this last year. Let's see if we can do it again with Julio. I mean, I have zero problem with them signing Julio Jones. I mean, Marquez Callaway, you know, who knows what you're going to get with him. And plus, you know, Julio knows A.J. Brown. Him and Devontae Smith called him the best receiver ever to come out of the University of Alabama.
Devontae loves him.
Yeah, I mean, and A.J. called him a big brother when they were in Tennessee together for that one season. So, you know, it makes sense on those levels. Marcus Callaway is just a guy that nobody knows. You bring him in, you know, what's he going to do for you? Yeah, Julio Jones, I think, has more upside potentially. I know he hasn't done much these last few years, but I like him. And I think he can bring something. You know where the pressure is going to come from Jalen Hurts is over the right side of that offensive line that is now being manned by backups, you know, Sua Opeta and Jack Driscoll. Yeah. That's where the pressure is going to come from, you know, over these next couple of weeks if Lane can't play.
But wait. Timeout, Philadelphia. Aren't there reports out there floating that Lane Johnson may be even capable of playing this week?
Boy, I don't buy that. Do you, Ed? And I'll tell you why I don't buy it, because he had so many issues with the ankle, and I don't know if it's the same ankle or not. I got to clarify that, but he had so many issues when he first underwent the tightrope surgery, then that turned into reconstructive surgery. he's the toughest guy in the world. He played through a torn adductor last year, but with that ankle, and he constantly talks about it.
Yeah.
He said the torn adductor was nothing compared to the ankle. Is he going to push that in 1 week? I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, the reports are out there, of course, but that's based, I think, more on Johnson's toughness. And the shame of it is we won't know today because the Eagles practice and their walkthroughs closed, so we won't know if he was actually on the field or not. I don't think he will be. And 3 weeks or 3 games until the bye. I know that's 3 important games here with the Dolphins and then the Commanders again and then the Cowboys. So they would be 3 really huge games to miss. But then you have the bye after that. So I'm not saying he's going to miss 3 games, but I would certainly be surprised if he played 1, knowing how tough he is and all. And that's not good.
Let me go all conspiracy. Let me get up there on the grassy knoll.
I like the grassy knoll. I like a good conspiracy.
Eagles are going through walkthrough Wednesday because Nick Sirianni, Mr. Competitive Advantage himself, said, I can't have those media guys in my gathering of the troops. Because let's be honest, you just can't get as much done in a walkthrough as you can in actual practice. So in a week where they're trying guys out, giving guys more chances, dealing with injuries, guys are not going to participate today because you wouldn't want to push them going to a big game on Sunday. The reason they're walking through. Now, we're also told that the Eagles have tougher practices and more high-energy practices than anybody else. Yeah, right. They're going to have this high-energy walkthrough today, I guess. Do you believe that the reason that they're not practicing today is because, they just don't want anybody to know anything about what's going on behind their closed doors?
Yeah, they went to walkthrough Wednesday last year as the season went on. They started doing their walkthroughs on Wednesday, and Nick will tell you that they get a lot done during these walkthroughs.
It's week 7, right, Ed?
Right, week 7. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
so
you're almost halfway.
Next year is week 3 going to be walkthrough Wednesday? Because
by the way, Doug Peterson started that late in the Super Bowl season.
The key word there being late. Week 7 is not late anything.
Yeah, I thought. I freely admit back then I thought Doug was giving up after Carson got hurt. I thought, oh, all right, they're giving up, and they go make the run to the Super Bowl. In this case, I think it's because the Eagles are banged up. That's why I think he's doing it. I mean, he doesn't like us there. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it has anything to do with the media. Here's my conspiracy. A wise man told me, Ed, that very few reporters showed up for coordinator day because the Phillies are knocking the you-know-what out of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they're going to waltz to the World Series. And the Eagles play that 4-for-4 game in front of the camera, pandering. Nick Sirianni wear the Phillies cap. But they're number 1 in this town, and they like to be number 1 in this town. And how do you get the back page? If anybody read newspapers, sign Julio Jones. What do you think of that conspiracy? Too much Phillies impact.
Yeah, that could be. Listen, I was one of those, handful of guys in the coordinator pressers yesterday, and, one of the PR staff asked, where is everybody? And and I said, listen, a lot of guys are doing double duty with the Phillies, and I don't think he liked that answer. But, maybe that's part of the reason. I mean, that's definitely the grassy knoll right there.
Yeah, I don't think it is, by the way. I
don't either. I think it's just a really smart move, to be honest. I mean, they have nothing to lose with this signing. Again, we keep talking about Julio, but they really have nothing to lose here by bringing him on board, in my opinion. So,
I agree with that.
I mean, listen, I don't think, I think that was part of it. The Phillies and, Phillies, they could be in the World Series before the Eagles even play again. If they go out to Arizona and take care of business. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Phillies do like being the number 1 team in town, and they still are. This loss is still sitting with them, and that's why I think they're going to come out and play well on Sunday night. I know they're banged up and their O-line's hurt, that right side especially. They don't have a lot of guys in the secondary. Hopefully Slay can come back, but this speed that the Dolphins bring in here, at the receiver core. You know, James Bradbury's not a speed guy. Darius Slay's not a speed guy anymore. I mean, who are they going to use to keep up with these guys? You know, when Tyreek Hill is running a deep post pattern, I mean, it's going to be a real challenge. But I think the Eagles will play well. I don't think they like coming in off this loss. You know, it's really sitting with them, and I think that's what will motivate them to play even better on Sunday.
All right, I got a two-part question. Ed, I want you to answer first, but John, I need you to chime in as well. So I'm going to ask the first part, then I'm going to follow up. Whose idea was it for Vic Fangio to join the Eagles in the postseason last year to help out advising the offense? I know we went down this before. He didn't come in to do anything with he advised the offense because he knows how defense stop offense. We go through that whole thing. We don't have to. Just the fact that Fangio was in the building helping out the Philadelphia Eagles. Who do you think made that happen?
Probably Jeffrey Lurie or Howie Roseman. You know, probably came from above, I would guess. You know, it was just another set of eyes to bring in, and he did more work with the offense than he did the defense, and that's kind of an underrated storyline going into Sunday night.
And Marcus Brady was helping the defense, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, Fangio now has eyes on this offensive philosophy that the Eagles bring in, and you know that could play to the Dolphins' advantage for sure. I mean, he knows this organization. I mean, Jonathan Gannon talked to him pretty much. He wasn't on staff. Fangio wasn't, but Gannon.
No. Even though everybody said he was.
Right, he never was.
He wasn't.
But Gannon admitted that he leaned on him, you know, maybe once a week. They would talk, and he was
usually about golf, from what I was told.
Well, yeah, golf, and might have been some football talk that came.
Might have been some football.
Yeah. So listen, that's a big storyline here too that is a little under the radar, in my opinion. Is the
By the way, yeah, the Eagles do this all the time. I give them credit for this. They brought in Marcus Brady, obviously, after he got fired. Now he's officially part of the staff. Marcus, Brad Seeley's helping them on special teams. A long time special teams coordinator in this league, and it's not official, but he was at training camp all the time. And guess what? They got a lot better on special teams, you know, from where they were last year. And I don't know if it's all directed to Brad Seeley, but I like the way they bring in people and try to get every advantage possible. Now, you know, Vic, he's the guy in NFL defensive circles. Of course, Miami's defense isn't that good statistically. But Sean Desai is the student, and that's his master. How much of an advantage do you think? And Jody brings up he knows the offense, the Eagles offense. How much advantage do you think he brings to the Dolphins?
I think he brings quite a bit of advantage. I mean, this is why some teams go out and sign players to their team a week or two before they play their ex team, is to maybe try to pick their brain and get as much information from them as they can. I'm sure Fangio, being a coach, is bringing a lot of information, you know, into those meeting rooms in Miami. No question. And, you know, you say, and listen, I like Sean Desai. I mean, I think he's doing as good a job as you can do, having to come in and replace 5 starters. And, you know, with the injuries they've had, and Nakobe Dean was out. I mean, he's doing a really nice job, in my opinion. I think it was a solid hire. I have no problem with what Desai has done. So, you know, whether he learned from Fangio or, you know, they traded ideas with each other, it doesn't matter at this point. It just matters who's going to go out and execute the best. And Fangio could come in with all this information, but now it's going to have to go out and they're going to have to, you know, execute it if you're the Dolphins. And they've been executing at a pretty high level these first 6 weeks. So it's going to be a really, really tall task for the Eagles.
So here was the question I was going to get to. You guys pretty 3/4 of the way already answered my question, but let me focus a little bit more. And I'll use the phrase John used earlier. Was it worth the squeeze to get Vic Fangio? If we could all agree that going into this week, the Dolphins have a little bit of an edge because they've got Fangio and he's got all this information and he's now in on the other sideline for what they got out of him last year on their way to the Super Bowl. Don't forget what the eventual result was. Was it worth it?
Well, they didn't win the Super Bowl. So to me, no, it wasn't worth it. If you win a Super Bowl, then yeah, it's worth it. But the Eagles knew they were playing the Dolphins next year, but they didn't know Vic Fangio would be their defensive coordinator.
Right. But you knew that there was a chance he was going to land somewhere and you could be facing him. You had to at least acknowledge that.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe it helped the Eagles on some level to get to the Super Bowl. But once they got there, it didn't work. I mean, they lost. So probably not worth it, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it because you always lose coaches if you're good. I mean, they lost their coordinators.
True.
Forget about their consultants. So that's kind of baked into it. If you're a good team, you're going to lose coaches, and it happens all the time. And if the Eagles, continue to be good, and let's say they make another Super Bowl run, even if they don't win again, Brian Johnson's probably one and done. He's probably gone, to be honest. So. I don't know about Sean because defensive coaches have a tougher time, and he probably needs a little bit more seasoning. But offensive guys, the hot offensive guy, they'll hire him right away. So if they're good, they're going to continue to lose coaches anyway. I don't have a problem with it, and they can pick out Big Fangio tape from 13 different freaking defenses in this league. They all play the same scheme. So they know what's going on. It's just a matter of, I think it's worth it. I think when you bring in smart guys, and Jeffrey Lurie deserves credit for that because it is Jeffrey. A lot of teams will penny pinch when it comes to the coaching staff. He's like, oh, you want to talk to Marcus Brady? Yeah, bring him in. He's done it with GMs, John Dorsey. We saw Steve Keim here a bunch. I just mentioned Brad Seeley, special teams coordinator. He always does that. That's a big advantage the Eagles have with an owner like Jeffrey Lurie. I think it's nothing but positive when he does that.
Who was the best additional guy? Didn't know he was there. All of a sudden, he showed up ever.
Best
Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob
out of nowhere. Jim Bob.
That was awesome.
Jim Bob Cooter doing in the house.
Yeah. We were at. Were you there that day? I think you were there, Ed.
Yeah, sitting in the tent, media tent.
Yeah, the media tent. I guess that was the end of the COVID days because it was still out front, outside the media office, and we're talking to Nick Sirianni in the middle of the press conference. There goes Jim Bob Cooter. And they're like, Jim Bob.
Yeah, 15 heads turn. What?
Yeah.
Who? Where?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were like 4 weeks into the season. So
never announced it. And by the way, I asked about Brad Seeley, and all I got was he's helping out. He might be officially here, but they don't tend to announce those types of things. So who knows?
All right, Eddie, last one for me. And again, sorry for getting to you late, but you do look marvelous.
Thank you.
One of the things that I noted yesterday when the 3 or 4 of you were questioning the coordinators, many less than usual, it was a good question, and I couldn't believe the answer that Brian Johnson gave. The Eagles' short passing game, wide receiver screens, throws to the backfield, are an extension of the running game. I couldn't believe Brian Johnson went down the Andy Reid road. Oh, some of our passes are actually runs. No, they're not. Passes are passes and runs are runs. You're asking the offensive lineman to do a different job, okay? And he tried to sell that yesterday, and I was watching the re-air afterwards. I'm going, he's not going there just like Andy Reid. We dealt with this with Andy Reid for years. Our passing plays are our running plays. Please don't try and pull anybody.
Nick has done that numerous times as well. He says that
because it's Brian Johnson. It's the first time he ever said it in his position, whatever. Does that annoy you as much as it annoys me, Ed Kracz?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's just, words to try to get through the question. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it is annoying. I mean, it isn't a run. You're right. Offensive linemen do different things on that play. And, it is in terms of what yards it picks up. You throw the ball to DeAndre Swift 8 times and you only get 50 or 60 yards. I mean, it's like 3 yards a pot. He's only getting like 4
Hey,
yards.
it's better than the running game against the Jets. He had what, 9 for 19 or whatever, 9 for 18.
Yeah,
hey.
it is an annoying answer. And listen, the message is set from Nick Sirianni on down. And we saw Brian Johnson, like John said, allude to these passes, these short passes, these bubble screens are an extension of the run game. We heard him say,
and the RPOs. Don't forget the RPOs.
Yeah,
at least the RPO I understand, because there is at least the perception. My God, I hate perception. The perception of Quez Watkins' speed, but there is actual perception of making the defense undecided. Are you going to hand it off? Or are you going to pull it back? Are you going to throw? Are you going? I buy the RPO as a. You can look at that after the fact and say it could have been a run play because Jalen could have chosen to give him the ball away, and the offensive lineman have to block that way. So I'll buy an RPO. Please don't tell me a bubble screen or wide receiver screen is a running play. Stop it. You can't go there.
I don't think it's a football play. It should be banned. Everybody's worried about the tush push. Ban the bubble screen. That's what I'm on. Ban the bubble screen.
We didn't see a single tush push against the Jets.
Ugliest play in football, the bubble screen. In my opinion.
Yeah, I don't like the bubble screen either. But we saw Quez Watkins take the bubble screen and run out of bounds instead.
That was a good job.
By the way, I was looking up Brian's quote. I liked before he went, those are extensions of the run game. Right before that, he said, it's just space touches in space. I like that, space touches. I might steal that from Brian.
That's right.
That's what it is.
And you know what? A running play is not a space touch. So if it's space touch, how the hell is it a running play?
I like it.
Don't
like
go
that
there.
one.
You might like it, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
All right, Ed Kracz. Are the Eagles going to 5-2? And if so, we're getting a little reception here from our streamers on our feed and not happy. And nobody's in a blatant panic mode, but there's some dissension. I will say that.
There's some panic.
How bad will it get if they get beat by the best offense in football this week?
Well, I mean, listen, a lot of teams have been beat by the best offense in football. And with the way the Eagles secondary is right now, it's really hard, logically to pick the Eagles to win this game. I mean, this is going to have to be like a rabbit out of the hat. If you're Sean Desai, Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson, they're going to have to outscore the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins give up a lot of points. They score a lot of points, but they give up a lot of points. The Eagles coming in off of a 14-point game against the good New York Jets defense. That's a concern. 3 interceptions, 4 turnovers. The Eagles can't turn the ball over. They're doing a terrible job at protecting the football. They're -1 now in the turnover ratio. Last year, after 6 games, they were +12. But they haven't gotten a turnover in 3 weeks. Tua will throw it to you if you pressure him.
Yeah,
5 interceptions. So the Eagles are going to have to get a turnover. They're going to have to get some turnovers to stop Miami, but also give your offense as good a field position as you can give them. That's been lacking. If the Eagles can do that, they can find a way to win this game. And again, they're going to have to control the ball with a running game. It was criminal that they didn't run the ball against the Jets defense that was ranked 29th in the league. Why? I don't know why they threw it like 12 times on their first drive. I mean,
a lot of space touches, Ed. A lot
of space touches.
Yeah,
extensions of the running game.
Yeah, but they have to control the clock with the run game. No space touches. I mean, you gotta control the clock. Keep that Miami offense, on the field. And the Eagles do a good job most of the time with time of possession. They had the ball more against the Jets than the Jets had the ball.
They do a good job.
I don't know. It's a tough task. I'd have a hard time taking the Eagles right now, to be honest, to win this game.
Fair enough, and we're asking you to do so on a Wednesday before a Sunday game, so thank you for at least giving us a leaning, because neither John or I are ready to make a pick on this game. We've got till Friday to do so. But I will note this, and I want to thank someone here on the stream. I didn't note whose name it was, but they made a good point, and I hadn't even realized it. The Dolphins, 5 wins.
Oh, terrible teams. Terrible.
The Giants, who have 1 win. The
Carolina.
Broncos, who have 1 win. The Panthers, who have no wins, and another team that's only got 1 win. And
the one time they played on the road against a good team, they got boat raced by the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think this team is as good as they look on paper. I got to be
Their
honest.
schedule came up easy early, so their 5-1 could be slightly misleading. That's my optimistic thought for the Eagles today. Well, and thanks whoever put that on the stream said they haven't beat anybody.
Yeah,
kind of right. The only really
now
good team they
the Eagles got a lot of that
last
last year. The only thing you can do is play who's in front of you, and they've been beating these teams like a drum. So I'm not saying they're a bad team, but yeah, they've beaten nobody.
Well, listen, here's another thing is, you know, they're wearing their Kelly greens. I mean, let's not overestimate or underestimate.
Yeah, that's like Notre Dame showing up in the green. That's
when
big.
You look good, you play good. And the Eagles feel like they're going to be looking mighty good in that Kelly green. So don't underestimate that intangible.
I think Notre Dame always loses when they
for those of us who like the Kelly green. It's probably not a good thing that the Dolphin offense is going to put up 35 points against it. We might not see Kelly green again until 2046.
Unless at Kracz E, make sure you follow Ed on Twitter, X, si.com/NFL/Eagles. Does a tremendous job there. You can read them. Yeah, I don't think the Kelly green is going to slow Tyreek Hill down. I think he's going to run by people just as quickly in the midnight green as the Kelly green. So
you might even notice him running by the Eagles' defensive backfields more while they wear the Kelly green. Not good.
Zone, a lot of zone this week. Zone to deal with the Dolphins' space touches, by the way.
And pass rush. You got to get after Tua.
Yeah.
Somehow Tyreek Hill seems to get wide open against his zone too. He is just that difficult to cover. Eddie Kracz, a pleasure, buddy. Thanks, pal.
Thanks, fellas.
Give Casper a friendly ghost our regards there over your shoulder. He's John McMahon. I'm Jody McDonald. We've got Mike Gill joining us in less than 20 minutes from now. Usually we'd Gill early. We're going to go Gill hour number 2. Coming back here with more Birds 365 next.